Good day, perceptive reader. This is James, and welcome to the podcast, James Poe Artistry Productions. Today is December 29th, 2024. You know, in a few days, we'll be going into the new year, 2025. And something that I haven't had a chance to do in a while on one of these podcasts is to drink a cup of tea. Oh, and let me tell you, not just any tea, but this is the Earl Grey tea. So you know what that is in reference to from the Star Trek episodes with Captain Picard. That was certainly his drink of choice. And I told you that for many, it was the first time they ever heard of such a tea, and it was also the first time they ever taste a tea of such a nature. And I think if you have tasted Earl Grey tea, it seems to be at first an acquired taste for some, and yet I'm going to tell you. It's almost like with anything that we consider this is fine. This is this is fine. This is fine. This is fine wine. You see what I'm saying? Well, that's the same experience some of us have as well with Earl Grey tea. And yet, look at Captain Picard. He was in the future. So can I really say he was ahead of his time? Well, anyway, the whole point is Earl Grey tea. I actually have a cup. And on these last days or few hours of 2024, I want to ask you, how did you feel about this year in general? A lot went on. I think a lot of you, including myself, learned quite a bit about the functioning of not only ourselves internally, but also the society as a whole. This in the United States of America was actually an election year. And people, for the first time, and I realized there's a younger generation that came aboard, but all the same, I think a lot of the long timers, up in age people actually learn aspects about the whole election processes too that they thought they knew, and then they come to the conclusion that it was still quite a bit more that they just didn't have the whole view of it all the way that they do now. And so they came to a realization as well about different personalities in the world, and even how different personalities interact with one another that some felt they never really had to consider before, because they say they take the view people are people, and they try to live each and every day doing the best that they can to be a good person. All the same, this past year, the light came to their eyes even brighter about some situations, and how even in some of the most serious and sincere focus between the interaction of a person or even groups of persons at times, that it isn't the case that it's always really some type of misunderstanding. You really just have situations at times where people or two people will not like each other, no matter how they're both even maybe talking in the proper etiquette of matters. And so what do we normally call those type of situations? What do we normally see in those type of situations where we actually see where people will start saying an aspect of a personality that's starting to show more in these days that we live in and on certain jobs, that it's called a passive aggressiveness. That years ago, people really didn't say too much about those type of aspects of life because, they didn't think too deeply as to maybe why this person they know did this or did that, and wanting to always give the benefit of the doubt. You see, you're probably one of those type of persons as well. And see, that's all a part of loving your neighbor that you do. You just give the benefit of the doubt. And yet, this past year, people have come to the conclusion that sometimes, you can always wish well for a person. But that doesn't mean that you let just certain aspects of actions, which will even fall into passive aggressiveness or what have you, have a reign on really causing further detrimental situations to finances, to the economy. You see what I'm saying? Etc. Your rights and your freedoms. And a lot of people actually woke up, as the term is used at times, from that so this is really the type of situation. You mean this is the way personalities or people can get with one another at times, even though they never even really comprehended or really, like I said, thought too much about that. Is this really possible in a civilized nation? Well, I'm here to share with you today a letter that I'm going to read to you. And this letter was written way back in the early 2000s. You see what I'm saying? That I'm going to read to you. And if you want to check the credibility of this letter writer, then you certainly can look that up. I encourage you. But I'm going to read that to you. And it gives you the situation of what we have to deal with at times as we're striving to be the best that we can be. Now, what I want to also mention to you is, before I read this letter, I was actually still contemplating certain real characters who have lived mentioned in the Bible, from David to the disciples of Jesus, to other Old Testament men and prophets who were actually having to serve in different capacities, like Daniel, you see, other than the ones that he actually probably would have wanted to be in, but God knew the situation. God knew what type of training he gave him. And so Daniel ended up, just being in a unique situation that God still dealt with him, as you could see, quite a bit in. And then you also had other examples of persons like Joseph. And then, you have other examples that go to show, and I'm thinking about persons like Jehu, you see what I'm saying? That go to show that yes, all these examples that God gave us in the Bible, at any time in our lives, we may be able to gain encouragement, strength, and comfort from the way they handle certain situations. And so he even gave us those as thoughts to meditate on, spiritual thoughts on, do I have to be now courageous like Joshua? You see what I'm saying? Do I have to really stand up for myself for a situation like Jehu? Do I have to still use a lot of wisdom and love like Joseph? You see? Or what about Daniel? Do I have to read a little bit more, study a little bit more deeply spiritual matters, even like God's word, to better interact with the society, with civilization? And this letter is going to show you why those examples I just gave you are of such encouragement, because it really puts straight front and center the type of situation, circumstances, people we actually run into. And so by hearing it from another source at this time, in a spoken in a clear-cut way, it's just giving you the reality again that we're just not at this time always going to get along with everybody. And even then, if you do the best that you can to be at peace, you're still going to have some situations that are mentioned in this letter. Okay? Let me read it to you. It says, "Dear reader, most people are difficult to deal with some of the time. But let's face, excuse me, perceptive reader, let me hold the book up to my to my eyes. I'm trying to drink coffee and read it with it on my desk. Anyway, I'm holding it closer to my eyes now. Can you hear me? So here it is. Dear reader, most people are difficult to deal with some of the time. But let's face it, some people are difficult to deal with most of or all the time. My guess is that you have one or more of the latter sort in your life, and that's why you've picked up this book. Well, you've come to the right place. Welcome to, notice the name, The Complete Idiot's Guide to Coping with Difficult People. Let me stop right there in this letter. So now you all see why I was reading it, because this letter actually just dropped out the sky and said, "You dummy." No, no, I'm just joking. I was actually in the bookstore some years ago. But anyway, now you know where this letter is where it comes from. It's in the first page. It's The Complete Idiot's Guide to Coping with Difficult People. And, this is another funny series of brand at times that people have actually purchased over the years. And so this is one that I actually purchased. And I told you about, I got my name in it as well. I wrote, I think the day that I even purchased it, you see. I think I purchased this on this date or whatever. But anyway, let me go ahead and continue reading. Of course, I hardly think you're an idiot for wishing to master the challenges of dealing with difficult people. On the contrary, you undoubtedly have a good amount of emotional intelligence and plain old common sense. You realize that you can't just run and hide from difficult people or haul off and punch them in the nose, no matter how much you might be tempted. But being around certain types of people, self-centered, controlling, nitpicking, and negative, can make anyone feel helpless and overwhelmed. Learning strategies for managing your interactions with them will enhance the quality of your work and personal lives and make your daily forays into the world at large much more pleasant. Chances are high that the difficult people you know aren't going anywhere, and even if they did, new ones will come along. Still, there's no point in letting any such person dampen your mood, make you doubt yourself, or ruin a single one of your days. With this book as your guide, you will learn to respond to difficult people in ways that you might never have thought of before. You'll see how sometimes just a subtle change in your reaction can create a new dynamic and a better outcome. You'll also learn to protect and defend yourself when necessary. Most of all, you'll learn how to hone your emotional intelligence so that it serves you well in any situation and with any person, no matter how difficult. Signed, Arlene Matthews. And so with that being spoken and shared with you, perceptive reader, today, before I go, keep up with your goals. You probably have some New Year's resolutions that some people have. One or two, as long as you're working on them, no matter at what speed you're working on them. And so I wanted to give you Just these few thoughts today. And I want to wish you well and a successful 2025. You know, there's nothing wrong with making money and as much as you need to make to take care of yourself and your family, because money is not the root of all evil. It's just the love of money. And see, when we continue to read spiritual books like the Bible and also the one that I just read, which actually, still deal with human interactions and personalities, you know what? We keep the balance. We're able to keep the balance. We realize money is a tool, and that still we find joy each and every day in life in one way or the other, whether we have as much as we want or even need, you see. So you have a very beautiful, beautiful day, okay? Take good care of yourself.